Hey, Playable Passion, the fuck you doing playing Serious Sam? Well, I don't know. I don't even play first-person shooters. But by some miracle, I got an original Xbox to mostly work, and I had this game for some reason, so why not? And before you know it, I have 3 hours of Serious Sam footage on my computer. I'm going to say right now, I don't want anyone expecting this to be anywhere near the quality of my normal videos. This is pretty much just a straight stream of consciousness thing. So you should expect that going in. Yeah, there will still be some talk about the game and criticisms and game design, but I'm just gonna let my brain fart out whatever for the next 20 minutes.
Just once, I'd like to wake up in the morning and not have to fight off an alien invasion. You know, most people would have run away by now.
In spite of Serious Sam first coming out in 2001, it has a very old heart. It's a very old style of first-person shooter. You move across the ground really fast, almost like you're gliding, and enemies come at you in droves, and they're practically all cannon fodder. That doesn't mean they can't kill you. Even cannon fodder can kill you in intensely large numbers. So we start the game with just a pistol and a knife, but that changes almost immediately. And the first two weapons we get greatly outclass both our pistol and knife, which makes me wonder why they bothered. For example, we get the chainsaw right here in this hallway, and it's to my understanding that originally the chainsaw was not placed here, it was placed later in the game, which would make sense, because the chainsaw makes the knife completely obsolete. And when I say originally, I mean this game is an enhanced remake of Serious Sam the First Encounter and Serious Sam the Second Encounter spliced into one game. That also means it's pretty long. Maybe not long by normal people's standards, but by my standards it's pretty long. Apparently quite a few things were changed, but I don't mind, because apparently a lot of the changes also made the game easier. We now have the shotgun, which is the weapon we're going to be using the most for a very long time. This is because it deals decent damage, fires very quickly, and you're almost never going to run out of ammo for it. I haven't run out of ammo for it even once. Shotgun shells are some of the most common ammunition pickups. You know, this game's story is kind of weird. I mean, not many people cared about it, and I can't imagine too many people care about it now either. It's because, you know, it's a very arcadey kind of game. And the story also isn't like breathtaking or interesting, so you can't really blame anyone. But in spite of that, there's clearly some effort put into the narrative because it has like actual lore. If you're reading this shit that pops up during the loading screens, there's quite a bit here, and we get more and more into it as the game goes on. And there's even little biographies on all of the enemies and how they came to be. And it's weird that they put so much effort into it. This is a crazy mixed up cartoony universe where a man named Serious Sam fights a villain named Mental who's trying to crap all over the Milky Way galaxy, but it's a consistent crazy universe. And I think there's something kind of admirable about that. Something that may not be apparent yet is that either the Xbox or this game disc in particular is dying very hardcore. It will often stutter and struggle to read, and sometimes it'll just outright crash the game. And it's very hard for me to tell what's at fault here. Because I'm pretty sure the game disc is alright. Like, yeah, it's got some scratches, but I've played way worse game discs. On the other hand, I've been playing the Xbox version of Malice perfectly fine. But on the other hand, the Xbox can't successfully play Pulse Racer, which is the cleanest Xbox disc I own. And you might be asking, what the fuck is Pulse Racer? Who gives a shit about Pulse Racer? Well, I do. There's very little footage of Pulse Racer anywhere on the internet, and while what I've played of it isn't stellar, it still definitely deserves to be preserved. I think it should get some points for its unique ideas, even if the presentation is incredibly mediocre. The presentation may actually be why no one's played it. It's just so incredibly generic, it's like telling people to play Iridium Runners or Quantum Redshift. In this version of Serious Sam, we can save at red phone booths. The red phone booths are like a breath of air, because this game crashes on me a lot. And after I save, I can rest easy knowing that I can at least continue from that point. There went the game stuttering. Down there's some extra health and a couple of other pickups, but it's not worth it because the skeleton monsters swarm you. Still, I decided to show it off anyway because why not? I am slightly familiar with the early levels in this game.
I'm over here, you stupid headless freaks.
But most of this I recorded completely blind. Because I realized that trying to do a Let's Play of Serious Sam was a stupid idea. It's not a bad game by any means, and I can definitely see why it gained a following and a dedicated group of fans. But to do a Let's Play of Serious Sam, I would have to think. And thinking while playing Serious Sam is kind of difficult. I mean, yeah, the game gets really, really difficult later, but asking me to think while playing it is still a bit excessive. There is a small amount of strategy in choosing which weapons are best for which situation. But outside of that... Oh, hold on. Anyway, as I was saying, outside of choosing which weapons are best for which situation, there's not much going on here. Not much for me to chew on. If I played through the levels countless times, I could memorize where all the enemies spawn and tell you how to best approach each situation to avoid getting slaughtered. But I'm not gonna do that. It's Serious Sam. Like, do you really need to know that 2 monsters spawn in this corridor? No, because you're gonna have 60 extra lives at one point. Sure, that 60 extra lives will be reduced to 30 or 40 by the time you reach the final boss, but still, you're gonna make it there. You don't restart from a checkpoint or anything either, you just respawn right on the spot. So you can pretty much just sleepwalk your way through the game. And yeah, like I said, you'll die a whole lot, but you gain a lot of lives back at the end of the levels. You know, I'm pretty sure the original Xbox is cursed. I've been reading about the original Xbox and its hardware issues, and if the DVD drive doesn't fail you, there's a clock capacitor on the motherboard that can spew acid all over everything. It's a miracle that anyone still plays the original Xbox. The first original Xbox I bought had flame decals on it, and that was probably a good sign because it started spewing white smoke and would randomly turn off and make loud buzzing sounds. It survived long enough for me to play Halo 2 and Malice, but then it died. It even started eating our discs. It was done for. And this fucker I'm playing on right now, it can handle Malice just fine, but that disc is way more screwed up than Serious Sam or Pulse Razor, so I have no idea. This one could start spewing white smoke at any time too. You know, the first game I bought for the original Xbox was The Herbs. I have absolutely no idea why, but The Herbs and The Sims Bustin' Out were the first 2 games for the original Xbox I ever played. But I wound up spending the whole night playing Sims Bustin' Out on the original Xbox one time, and then I opened the door to my bedroom and white smoke spills out, and I was like, holy shit, I could have died in there. I didn't even notice it was smoking. The blood that we have active right now, the blood filter we have on, is called Hippie. It makes the enemies explode into flowers and fruits when we shoot them. And I guess it's okay, it's a lot more colorful than the red blood. It's nothing compared to the massive rainbow-colored gore explosions from Jet Force Gemini, which is for some reason rated teen and not M. But that's beside the point. Or maybe it's not. Jet Force Gemini is definitely more violent than Serious Sam, and Serious Sam, I guess, is kind of violent. I mean, you shoot things and they explode into blood and guts, but have you seen the blood explosions in Jet Force Gemini, especially when you hit a tiny ant with a rocket? You collect heads as a game mechanic. And don't tell me it's because their blood isn't colored red. You can shoot the hell out of the Ewoks and they explode into red blood, and they're supposed to be friendly. You can pick up their heads too. This game does a really good job making itself feel long. Like, at first you have to collect the 4 elements, and then you fly across the entire desert to get to, I can't even remember what the hell the place is called. But you finally use the 4 elements to open a door in Thebes. And then after that, you still have a while to go to get to the Great Pyramid, and you fight this big alien guy, and then the game's still not over. Some of the later levels are like 20 to 30 minutes long, too. Like, toward the end, it starts to get a bit of a drag. Thankfully, there are mid-level save points. I don't know whether to say this game hasn't aged well, because it clearly was never meant to be a class act, right? It was meant to be kind of schlocky and just fun to murder things with. I recall that somewhat lately, as in within the last decade or so, Serious Sam has gotten more and more of a presence on Steam and in indie circles. They've been hiring indie teams to make games for Serious Sam, like Serious Sam: The Random Encounter, and that one side-scrolling shooter. And then Serious Sam: The First and Second Encounter got HD remasters. It makes me wonder if they were trying to establish Serious Sam as some kind of brand. Or maybe they were just having a good time. I mean, I have a lot of respect for what is this developer called? Crow Team? CRO Team. That's how you pronounce that, right? Crow Team. I have a lot of respect for them for making exactly what they want to. Because when I first heard the name Serious Sam and heard it was a first-person shooter, this game I'm playing right here, exactly what came to mind. I never even touched Serious Sam and I already knew what it was. I also could have guessed that it was inspired by Duke Nukem, but I really don't care about Duke Nukem compared to this game. For me, it's not even a comparison. I would much rather take Serious Sam any day. I also really don't want to play Doom. I mean, this is all personal preference right here. I don't claim to be any kind of expert on criticizing first-person shooters. I barely play first-person shooters. Serious Sam is the first first-person shooter I have played in a very long time. Can't really recall what the last one before this was. But I know that Doom is a maze made of keys, so I don't want to play Doom. But a friend really wants me to play the 2016 Doom, and they even got it for me as a gift, so I'm like, okay, but 2016 Doom is hard and smart, and it makes you think about what you're doing, and that's good thing. But I don't play first-person shooters. That'd be like asking me to play an RTS suddenly. I struggled to play fucking Storm Rise. One time someone asked me to play something out of my comfort zone because I play a lot of beat-em-ups, so I said, yeah, sure, I'll try the strategy game I always wanted to play, Storm Rise. And I have a lot of respect for Storm Rise and what it tries to do, and it seems like it would be a lot of fun, but boy did it kick my ass. You know, while playing like my 4th hour of Serious Sam, it occurred to me that Serious Sam may be like a lot of beat-em-ups I play, where it's kind of mindless and a little bit difficult, but if you really think about what you're doing, it's still really mindless and kind of difficult. But it's doable, and it's still fun to shoot things. The difference being that most of those beat-em-ups I play that are like that, they don't last very long. They are 2 to 3 hours at most, but on my 4th hour of playing Serious Sam, I had yet to reach the final boss of the first encounter. So this is really the first glimpse of the game's awkward humor, aside from the opening cutscene, where we chase a health pickup in this room and it's actually a trap. And I guess it's a cute joke, but health pickups turn out to be traps so often in this game that it gets more frustrating than anything. You'll see a full health recovery and you'll be like, oh thank goodness, and you'll run over to it, and as soon as you grab it, it'll spawn a ton of enemies that render the health pickup useless because they destroyed your health bar again. Here's the first appearance of the Scorpion enemy. The Scorpion enemy is my least favorite enemy in the game, and I hate it, and I wish it would go away forever. It's not so bad in its first few appearances, but later they frequently use the Scorpion enemies as a sniper of sorts, and they drain your health really quickly, and they always stand somewhere up high where it's difficult to see them. So they keep peeling away at your health, but you don't even know what's shooting at you yet. Eventually you learn to just assume it's a Scorpion shooting at you by default, but you still have to find it. If they wanted to use a strong enemy as a sniper, then there are green monsters later that do that just fine, and there are red mechs that could also serve that same purpose. But you can generally see where their shots are coming from, and they have colors that contrast really well with the background. The Scorpions kind of blend in, and even when you find them and start shooting at them, you can't really avoid them, because the machine gun on their arm shoots you no matter where you move. Unless you move behind something. They also seem to have infinite range. I can't be completely sure, but it seems that way because sometimes they will shoot you from very far away. And if they just stayed close range enemies, I would have liked them a lot more. You might have noticed some V-Sync issues with this game if you're like me and that really bothers you. There's a lot of screen tearing going on. I haven't noticed much screen tearing on the GameCube or PS2. The only PS2 game I've seen with screen tearing was, I think, The Simpsons Road Rage. That's the only one that comes to mind. But I've seen both Serious Sam and Malice have screen tearing on the Xbox. Now that's only 2 games, that's not a good sample size. So I can't say it's an issue with Xbox games. For all I know, there could be dozens of PS2 games I haven't played that have screen tearing. For all I know, it could also be this Xbox that's causing the game disc to act weird and cause screen tearing to happen. That doesn't sound likely or even possible, but maybe it is. I don't know enough about technology to say it's not. Right now, my recording of Serious Sam is just like a desperate race. I'm trying to get to the end of Serious Sam and record all of it before the game and my Xbox crash permanently, and they won't work anymore. Because after I record Serious Sam, I don't think I'll ever need to play it again. And I also want to give the footage to my friend who makes long plays, because he recorded Serious Sam: The Next Encounter on the GameCube, so it'd be nice for him to have the original, or rather the remake of the original that came out on the Xbox, which is what we're playing right here. And there have been frequent crashes and a lot of technical issues, but so far the footage itself has come out alright. So it's just a matter of being persistent so far. I mean, yeah, we're playing the same 30-minute stretches of level over and over, and fighting the same 15 enemy types over and over isn't great, but it's doable. And I already have the first 4 hours recorded, so what, am I gonna give up now? I don't think so. Serious Sam, I take your constant crashing as a personal challenge.